This is a painting that I was given when my grandmother passed away. It always hung right above her bed. Her dad, I'm guessing, would have given it to her after she spent the summer at a dude ranch when she was 19 in like the 40s. Not sure if it's a print or a painting, but when I got it, there was a mosquito underneath the glass. So I took it out to the front yard and I opened it up to get the mosquito out so I could take it with me to college. And then it kind of scared me a little. I closed it back up immediately because it looked like it might be real.
For decades, this painting hung quietly above a bed, not in a museum, not behind glass in a gallery, just in a bedroom, in an ordinary home. It was the kind of object no one questioned, the kind of thing that simply becomes part of the background of life, something you pass by every day without really seeing it anymore. It had already been appraised, twice. In 1998, it was valued at $200. In 2004, slightly higher, $250. Each time, the conclusion was the same. A print. Nothing particularly rare. Nothing particularly important. Just decoration. The painting had belonged to a grandmother. Years earlier, as a young woman, she had spent a summer at a dude ranch in the American West. Like many visitors at the time, she returned with souvenirs, objects that captured something of that experience. This painting was one of them. It was given to her, most likely by her father, and it stayed with her for the rest of her life. She hung it above her bed, and there it remained. For years, then decades. It became part of the room, part of the house, part of memory. When she passed away, the painting was inherited by her granddaughter. By then, it carried no special significance beyond sentiment. It was something that had always been there, something familiar, something assumed to be ordinary. The granddaughter believed what the appraisals had said. A print, worth a few $100s. She planned to take it with her to college. And that's probably what would have happened, if not for something completely unexpected. At some point, a mosquito became trapped inside the frame. It sounds insignificant, a small inconvenience, but it was enough to change everything. The granddaughter decided to take the painting outside and open the back of the frame. The intention was simple. Remove the insect, clean it up, put it back. But when she opened it, she noticed something. There was a difference, a subtle one at first. The surface didn't look like a print. It didn't look flat. It didn't look uniform. It looked textured, layered, alive in a way that prints are not. She didn't fully understand what she was seeing. She wasn't an art expert. She had no training in identifying original works. But instinctively, she knew something felt different. And instead of continuing, she stopped, closed the frame, and left it exactly as it was. That moment, brief and uncertain, was the turning point. Because instead of ignoring that feeling, she chose to follow it. She didn't take the painting to college. She took it to be evaluated properly. And this time, everything changed. The painting was not a print. It was an original work, created in 1892 by François Farny, a name that, to most people, means very little. But in the world of art, particularly American Western art, carries significant weight. The estimated value? Between $200,000 and $300,000 for a painting that had been dismissed twice as something worth barely $200. To understand how that could happen, you have to understand the artist behind it. François Farny was born in 1847 in a small town in France. When he was still a child, his family immigrated to the United States, settling in Pennsylvania. It was there, in his early years, that something important happened. He grew up near Native American communities, specifically near lands inhabited by the Seneca people, and unlike many others at the time, he didn't see them as distant or unfamiliar. He observed them closely. He paid attention. He noticed how people moved, how they carried themselves, how they interacted with the land around them. These early observations stayed with him, and over time, they shaped the direction of his life's work. As he matured, Farny pursued formal artistic training. He studied in the United States and in Europe. He developed strong technical skills, worked as an illustrator, even contributed to widely read publications. But he kept returning to the same subject, Native American life. In the 1880s, he began traveling across the American West. He visited reservations, spent time with different tribes, observed daily life in a way that few artists of his time ever did. He didn't rely on imagination. He relied on experience. He filled his studio with real objects, clothing, tools, artifacts, so that when he painted, he could recreate scenes with accuracy. not approximation. Over time, he built relationships, real ones, among the people he spent time with, especially among the Sioux. Those relationships deepened to the point that something remarkable happened. He was adopted into the Sioux community, and he was given a name, Long Boots. That name wasn't symbolic. It wasn't casual. It represented trust, acceptance, belonging, and it followed him for the rest of his life. In many of his paintings, a small mark appears beneath his signature. A circle. That mark represents that identity. A quiet indication that the artist was not simply observing from a distance. He had been accepted, and that distinction matters. Because during that same period, other artists were painting similar subjects. Artists like Frederick Remington. Their work often focused on drama, conflict, moments of action, scenes that captured tension and confrontation. Farny approached things differently. He painted calm. He painted everyday life. Moments that felt natural, unstaged. People moving through their environment without performance, without spectacle. That authenticity is rare, and it's one of the reasons his work is so highly valued. Now consider the time this painting was created. 1892. By that point, Native American life in the United States was undergoing rapid and irreversible change. Traditional ways of living were being disrupted. Communities were being confined to reservations. Land was being taken. Just 2 years earlier, in 1890, the events of the Wounded Knee Massacre had marked a devastating moment in that history. Hundreds of Lakota men, women, and children were killed. It was not just a tragedy. It was a turning point, and Farny understood the weight of what was happening around him. He wasn't painting something distant. He was painting something that was disappearing. His work became more than art. It became a record, a visual memory of a way of life that was being lost. That context, the time, the relationships, the authenticity, all contribute to the value of this painting. But even with all of that, it was still mistaken for a print. Twice. And that's where presentation matters. For decades, this painting hung in a bedroom, in a simple frame, without context, without documentation. To an appraiser, seeing it casually presented, it could easily resemble a reproduction, especially considering how widely Farny's work had been reproduced in printed form. Without a closer look, it's easy to assume, and that's exactly what happened, until a mosquito forced a closer look. That small moment, opening the frame, revealed what had been missed. The texture of paint on paper, the subtle irregularities that only exist in something created by hand, details that can't be replicated. And with that, the entire understanding of the painting changed. From decoration to historical artifact, from $200 to $300,000. The granddaughter's reaction reflected that shift. Shock, disbelief, a quiet realization that something ordinary had never really been ordinary at all. She even wondered if she should have left the mosquito inside. She shouldn't have. But without it, this discovery might never have happened. And that's what makes this story so compelling. Because it's not just about value. It's about perspective. The way something can exist in plain sight for decades, without being fully understood. The way familiarity can make something invisible. And the way a single, unexpected moment can change everything. This painting sat above a bed for years. Seen every day, but never truly seen. Until someone looked a little closer and realized what had been there all along. And that raises a question. How many more things like this exist? How many objects, in ordinary homes, carry stories, history, and value that no one has recognized yet? Because the truth is, the most valuable things rarely announce themselves. They don't stand out. They don't demand attention. They wait, quietly. And sometimes, it takes something as small as a mosquito to reveal them. If you found this story fascinating and you want to uncover more hidden histories like this, subscribe to Priceless Discoveries. Because the next piece we explore might look just as ordinary, but its story could be even more extraordinary.